Hi teachers, I'm introducing you to a small Autocrat job tweak. Just one more step we're going to implement when we set up our Autocrat jobs. I'm calling this the Autocrat batching process. A little bit of context. Last week we had a hiccup mid Autocrat job. It caused Autocrat to stop creating documents for students and it simply wouldn't resume. And it ended up taking quite a bit of finagling on my end to get Autocrat functioning properly again. So we definitely want to avoid that for all of you, especially if you are in the middle of class and you have 25 students staring at you trying to get Autocrat working again. So that's our goal is to make pauses and interruptions in the Autocrat job process less likely to happen. We're calling this the Autocrat batching process because we are simply programming Autocrat to run in batches of 25 or fewer students. So I think for everybody, that means that by class period will work just fine. We're going to do this in step 7 of the Autocrat job setup process. And I'm going to show you two different methods for implementing this little tweak. I'm calling one method the keyword method, and then the other method is by class period. Really quick, you're going to have access to these slides. I get into the more granular steps in the next slides here. So I'll send this out to you via email, but what I'm going to do the rest of the video is I'm just going to show you in an actual Google Sheet how to set up this job with this update. So you're going to want to choose your preferred method depending on how you set up your Google Sheets ordinarily. So mine here is very simple. It's just got the student name column and the email column. But if you prefer to set up your Autocrat job by class period, like I have here, if this is how you organize your Google Sheet, um, then you might want to click ahead to where I get into that process. I'm going to have in the description the timestamp where you can click forward to learn about the class period method. Really quick before you leave, just so I don't have to repeat myself later. The blacked out boxes are just so that YouTube does not take my video down for revealing personal information, because that's what happened the first time. Underneath these black boxes are my two different email addresses, and YouTube flagged my original video for bullying and for revealing personal information. So my sheets are set up exactly as your sheets are. I just wanted you to know why that is blacked out. Okay, if you set up your Google Sheets this way, go ahead and locate the class period chapter, the timestamp that I have included in the description, and I will see you over there. If you tend to set up your Google Sheets this way, just very simply, stick around. We're going to start here. So if this is how you set up your Google Sheets, we're going to just take one additional measure before we open Autocrat. We're going to give Autocrat some instructions telling it, yes, we want Autocrat to run the job for that batch of students, or no, we don't want Autocrat to run the job for that batch of students. Okay, so I'm going to call this the run status column. And again, this is where we're going to input our instructions to Autocrat. Meaning now we need to choose a keyword. So the word that Autocrat takes as permission to complete the job for that student. I'm just going to choose the word yes, meaning yes, Autocrat, please create a document and send it to that particular student. So in my example here, I have two batches of students. I have student 1 in batch 1. Yes, Autocrat is going to run the job for that student. And I have student 2 who is in batch 2. And I have no instructions in that box, which means Autocrat is going to read that as no, I don't want a document created and sent to that student just yet. Okay. Really quick though, I do just want to show you a little keystroke or click stroke, that might save you some time. I only have my 2 students here, but you, of course, are going to have many, many more students in your Google Sheet. And so if you have a batch of 25 students, you don't want to take the time to type yes in every single box of batch 1. What you can do instead is you can type it just one time, click on the box, hover your cursor over to this little circle in the bottom right-hand corner, click and drag down until you reach the bottom of batch 1, the last student in your first batch. If you click and drag, it's going to input your keyword next to all of those students without you having to go type it into every single box. So again, you're only going to want to do this for your first batch of students, 25 or fewer, but that'll save you some typing time right there. But again, going back to my example, okay, we're going to go ahead and open Autocrat. I already have a job set up for demonstration purposes. It's set up exactly the way you guys already set up your Autocrat jobs. There's no other changes. I'm going to go ahead and edit this job, and we're just going to skip through this really quickly because there's no new information there. We want to get to step 7, set merge condition, right? Because now our job procedures are conditional. So we're going to add a condition. We're going to choose our new run status column. And again, the word that gives it permission to run the job is yes. In my case, you can choose whatever keyword you would like. So if run status equals yes for that particular student, it is going to run the Autocrat job as normal. Once again, as is the case with the other Autocrat steps, capitalization matters. So make sure that your keyword here is typed exactly the same as it is in your box in the sheet. Okay. And this is really important if you are editing any of your Autocrat jobs. Make sure you click this red save button. It's not going to save your work unless you do that. So don't just click out of the extension just yet. Okay, you can finish setting up the job as normally. I already did that. So I'm just going to go ahead and save that, and then we will run it as usual. Nothing happens within the sheet until you actually run the Autocrat job. So making changes, adding that run condition, that's not going to actually create or send out any documents. You have to click the run job button as normal. Okay, my job was successful here. It has created the document. It's sent it out to my first student. And now here are your options for running it for the second student. What I like to do is I like to click the box and just another click stroke for you. Again, you might have a lot more in your class. What you can do is you can highlight all of these boxes for your batch 1 students. You're going to, again, take your cursor, but this time you're going to move it to the very outside of your box, the outside edge of your box. You're going to click, and then you're going to drag this entire block to align with your second batch of students, wherever that second batch begins. So again, saving you some typing time. You don't need to go in and delete all of your keywords next to your students in batch 1. You don't have to retype anything for batch 2. You can just move those keyword boxes down to align with your second batch or your third batch of students. So I'm going to do that now. Student 1 in batch 1 doesn't need a second document. They're good to go. So I'm just going to go ahead and move that down next to my second batch of students, which just is student 2. I'll click run job again, and it's going to perform the Autocrat job for my second batch of students. And there we go. That is the keyword method, along with some shortcuts to make it less typing as you are setting up the job and running the job. So again, make sure that we're doing this in small batches, 25 students or fewer. Make sure that Autocrat finishes the first batch before starting the second batch, or make sure it has finished the second batch before starting the third batch, whatever that looks like for you. But that is it very simply. You just have to move your keyword to be wherever the students who are without documents start in your Google Sheet. Okay, once again, you have access to the instructions that I've provided you with. That's that original slideshow that we started the video in that goes over the individual steps. And then, of course, you'll have this video for reference as well. So that is the keyword method. We're going to move on to the class period method now. If this is how you typically set up your Google Sheets, this might be the method for you. Okay, so I already have my sample Autocrat job set up here. Everything is the same. We're just going to go in and we're going to make one small change. So you can do this with any Autocrat jobs that you have already set up in advance but haven't run yet. So nothing is different here. I'm going to click ahead to step 7. Set merge condition, because whether or not Autocrat actually runs the job is now conditional on the instructions that we give it. So we're going to click add condition, and now we're going to choose the class period column. This is where we want Autocrat to pull its permission from. So it's only going to create and send out documents based on these instructions here. So if the class period equals period 1, then it's going to create and send out the documents for any students who have 1 in their class period column. So as always with Autocrat, capitalization matters, exact characters matter. So if you have it as period 1, that's how you need to type it here. If you have it as P1, that's how you need to have it here. You got to make sure that it just, whatever it is in your Google Sheet, it matches exactly here as well. Okay, so if you are editing any of your Autocrat jobs, this is really important. You can't close out of the extension just yet. You have to make sure that you save the job first. Okay, so I set up my Autocrat job as normal. You saw me just make that change just now. So just edit your Autocrat job as you normally would, set up your Autocrat job as you normally would, but with that step 7 included. All right, I'm going to go ahead and run the job. It's going to run my Autocrat job just for my first batch of students, which is student 1 in period 1. All right, and there we go. It was successful. Student 1 now has their document. They're good to go. Student 2 doesn't have a document. As you can see, these boxes are still empty. And so now that my first batch of students have their documents, they're good to go. Now it's time to make sure my second batch of students have their documents. So you have 2 options if you set up your Google Sheets with class period. Your first option is to just go in and edit the job. So now we're back here. All we would need to do is change the class period number, save it, and move on. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go ahead and run the job. Your other option, if you are someone who likes to have your Autocrat jobs set up in advance, is to make several Autocrat jobs for the same essay, one for each class period or one for each batch of students. That's your other option. And if you are okay with doing more work, extra work on the back end in order to just be able to click the run job button on the day of, that's up to you. That's your prerogative. So it's totally just whatever you prefer. All right, so batch 2 was successful. Student 2 now has their document. That is the class period method. So let's go back to our slides here, and I want to just touch on a couple of points. So as always, as you're setting up the Autocrat job or editing the Autocrat job, nothing happens, nothing is sent out, no documents are created or emailed to students until you click the Run Job button. And once again, I did mention this, but if you are editing any existing Autocrat jobs, make sure you click that red Save button at the very bottom. Nothing will be saved unless you click that, so don't click out of the extension without doing that. Choose the method that looks simplest to you based on however you set up your Google Sheets. It doesn't matter which one, it's just whatever works best with what you're already doing. And then these last 2 points are really important. So going forward, if there is some sort of brief internet outage, or just high internet traffic that causes Autocrat to stop working mid-job, don't refresh the page, don't click out of it, give it a chance to do its thing. You can text me, I can hop on and take a look at it as well, and we might be able to find a solution. We might just have to go in and manually create documents for the students for whom Autocrat didn't get to. Excuse my grammar just there. Um, but the key here is to not refresh the page if Autocrat is stuck loading. And then the final point is it really is best to run Autocrat jobs when there is as little internet traffic as possible. So this is probably right before the school day starts, or possibly during lunch. But mid-class, when every other teacher is already on their computer and who knows how many students are on computers as well. This really isn't the ideal time to run Autocrat jobs if you absolutely have to. Again, this step makes it less likely that you'll run into any problems, but as much as possible, try and run your Autocrat jobs when there is as little internet traffic as possible. All right, thank you for your attention to this update, and thank you guys for working with me on Autocrat. I know it feels burdensome at times, but it really is useful in doing what we want it to do. So thank you for your diligence and for your long suffering. All right, let me know how I can help you, how I can be of service to you, and hope to hear from you soon.